When I arrived at the marina, my heart nearly stopped right there, on my own yacht. My Mayra was wrapped in a passionate embrace, deeply kissing the town playboy, Steve. My blood ran cold. I stood there, frozen, as Steve's hands explored Mayra openly, right in front of everyone. Rage surged inside me, but I forced myself to stay composed, approaching the yacht with clenched fists, knocking sharply on the yacht's tinted window. I startled them. Steve glanced at me dismissively, smirking, as he asked, "Who's this loser?" Mayra didn't even flinch. Leaning closer into Steve's chest, she laughed disdainfully and said, "Just some nobody. If you're bothered by him, I'll dump him right here." The humiliation burned deep inside my chest, but I kept my voice calm. "Okay, Mayra, I don't care if you want him, but why are you two on my yacht?" Their smiles faded instantly. Steve turned sharply towards me, confusion on his face. "Your yacht," he scoffed arrogantly, pretending confidence. "Stop dreaming, loser." I calmly reached into my jacket, pulling out the yacht's registration papers and showing them clearly. "Yes, my yacht." Steve's face turned pale. Mayra looked terrified. She quickly pushed Steve away, stammering desperately, This can't be your yacht." "It certainly is," I replied calmly. "And you'll both be paying for every scratch." As the reality sank in, Steve stumbled backward, panic clearly visible on his face. "Wait, man, let's talk about this," he began, but I cut him off sharply. "Save it for court. You both picked the wrong person to betray. My name is Mark. I was always the quiet, reserved guy. Everyone underestimated the type who spent most of his days quietly working, unnoticed by everyone. Most people assumed I was broke, mainly because they'd often see me handing out promotional flyers around town. In fact, Mayra herself had once told her friends, laughing carelessly, that her was just a flyer guy. But appearances can be deceiving, and in my case, very deceiving. You see, those flyers weren't for random shops. They were advertisements for my family's properties, boutiques, and restaurants we owned all along Seaside Boulevard. My family was discreetly wealthy, but we believed in humility and hard work. My father taught me from a young age that respect and success come from earning it, not flaunting it. Mayra never knew about my wealth. Perhaps that was my biggest mistake. I met Mayra 2 years ago during college orientation. She was captivating, smart, beautiful, charming, the kind of girl who captured attention wherever she went. When she smiled at me that first day in class, it felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. I fell head over heels instantly. Our relationship started simple, genuine, and pure. We laughed together, shared quiet walks along the beach, and talked late into the night about our dreams. Mayra often mentioned how she wanted to escape poverty, and I admired her ambition. She never outright demanded anything extravagant, but I willingly showered her with gifts, dinners, and clothes, subtly, never revealing how easily I could afford them. I mistakenly believed her love was genuine. But over time, little things changed. Mayra began spending more time with her friend, Eva, girl known for her manipulative streak and a well-known worshiper of wealth. Eva had a talent for convincing Mayra that a man's value was directly linked to his wallet. I noticed a change in Mayra's attitude as she began to subtly pressure me for more expensive gifts. The gentle girl I fell in love with began to transform, and soon our relationship revolved more around materialistic demands than genuine affection. One evening, after a simple dinner date, Mayra complained about walking home and hinted that having a car would make things easier. I mentioned offhandedly that I owned a yacht docked at the marina, hoping it might impress her, yet still maintaining the illusion that it belonged to a distant relative. Eyes lit up immediately, and I mistook her enthusiasm as genuine happiness for me. "Mark," she whispered excitedly, "this is amazing. Why didn't you tell me earlier?" I wanted you to love me for who I am, not what I have. I replied honestly. She laughed lightly and hugged me tightly, whispering sweet words that, at the time, seemed genuine. From that day, Mayra started suggesting yacht parties and inviting her friends to show off her boyfriend's boat. My yacht quickly became the center of Mayra's newfound popularity. I didn't mind it at first, blinded by love, convinced that our bond was unbreakable. Ava, Mayra's best friend, suddenly warmed up to me as well. She, who'd always mocked me as a poor nobody, suddenly praised my generosity, but her sincerity was questionable. As the weeks passed, I planned our engagement, thinking it would bring us closer. Mayra enthusiastically accepted, her eyes sparkling with what I foolishly believed was love. But looking back, it was obvious now she wasn't excited to marry me. She was excited about the financial security and status she thought came along with it. Yet, even as my suspicions grew, I tried to push my doubts aside, convinced myself that she was just overwhelmed, swept up by the luxury she'd never experienced before. Even ignored her late-night conversations with Eva, brushing off their whispering about catching a bigger fish. But tonight, standing on the pier and watching Mayra betray me so openly, I realized I'd been blind to her true colors. My humility had become a weakness, something she had skillfully exploited. Seeing her so casually dismiss our love shattered any illusions I still had. As Mayra continued laughing flirtatiously, oblivious to my gaze, I felt a deep sense of regret, not only because of her betrayal, but because I'd let her deceive me so thoroughly. I genuinely believed she loved the person I was beneath my modest exterior. Now, I saw clearly how naive I'd been. Steve, the town playboy, was everything I wasn't flashy, arrogant, and openly wealthy. Girls chased after him relentlessly, drawn to his flashy sports cars and endless parties. Mayra had always pretended to despise men like him, claiming she valued sincerity over money. Yet here she was, wrapped in his arms, completely enamored by his false facade. I should have seen this coming. Ava's constant whispers about finding someone richer, Mayra's increasingly cold attitude, and her constant pressure for gifts had been clear signs. But love, or maybe my ego, had blinded me. Tonight was supposed to be special, a night celebrating our future together. Instead, I stood here, humiliated in front of everyone. My friends shifted uncomfortably around me, pity in their eyes. Even strangers stared openly, whispering and shaking their heads. But humiliation quickly hardened into resolve. Mayra believed she'd secured her golden ticket by deceiving me, but she'd made a catastrophic miscalculation. Tonight, I wouldn't just expose her betrayal. I'd teach her and Steve an unforgettable lesson, because hidden beneath the quiet guy, handing out flyers, was someone they had severely underestimated. It was time Mayra and everyone else finally learned that the truly wealthy don't need to show off, and sometimes the quietest guy is the one you least want to cross. Standing there, staring at Mayra and Steve on my own yacht, my emotions churned violently inside. For a moment, all I could feel was intense anger and embarrassment. Every glance from my friends felt like a silent judgment. Every whisper among strangers stung my pride. As Mayra realized she'd been caught, panic washed over her face. She nervously pushed Steve away, stumbling slightly as she rushed toward the yacht's railing. "Okay, I can explain," Mayra shouted desperately, her voice trembling. I raised an eyebrow coldly, taking a step closer. "Explain what exactly, Mayra?" "How you casually kissed another man on my yacht a night before our wedding." She frantically shook her head, eyes filled with fake innocence. "Tana, what it looks like Steve told me it was his yacht. I didn't even know he was lying." Steve's mouth dropped open, clearly stunned by Mayra's immediate betrayal. He stepped forward angrily, pointing at Mayra accusingly. "Are you kidding? You knew exactly whose yacht this was. You're the one who suggested we use it. My jaw tightened. Not only had Mayra betrayed me, but now she tried to manipulate me into believing she was innocent. My entire relationship flashed before me, each suspicious moment crystal clear. The expensive gifts, her sudden interest in my assets, her closeness with Eva, everything suddenly made painful sense. Mayra turned fiercely toward Steve. "Shut up. Don't drag me down with you. This was your stupid idea. You promised Mark would never find out." Steve scoffed incredulously, rolling his eyes. "Seriously, Mayra? You begged me to show you what being with a real man felt like. Oh, you're playing innocent." Her face turned red with embarrassment. Our friends stood nearby, silently observing, shocked and clearly intrigued by this dramatic revelation. Eva, Mayra's best friend, pushed her way through the crowd, immediately jumping to Mayra's defense. "Mark, don't listen to Steve," Eva shouted desperately. "He's just trying to ruin Mayra's reputation. You know how loyal Mayra is. She loves you." I glanced at Eva sharply. "Does she? If she loved me, would she be making out with someone else tonight?" Eva froze, clearly caught off guard by my direct response. Round us, whispers intensified. My so-called friends stared at Mayra with a mixture of shock and disgust. Frustrated, Mayra turned towards Eva, whispering angrily, "Do something. Jer, the one who said Steve was worth millions, that he'd marry me and take me away from this pathetic life." My anger rose, hearing that. Kiva had always been toxic, but hearing it directly from Mayra's mouth felt like another knife through my chest. Eva shrank back nervously, realizing her part in this betrayal was exposed as well. "You said Mark was just pretending to be rich." Mayra accused Eva bitterly, tears in her eyes, realizing her mistake. "You said Steve was the real deal." Steve laughed mockingly, arms folded, pretending. "Everyone knows Mark's family owns half this marina. It seems you both played yourselves." Ava's eyes widened in horror as she realized how badly her judgment had failed. Mayra's face paled, Kay desperately grasping the reality of her actions. My hands shook with suppressed anger as I approached the yacht's ramp, stepping onto the deck. I looked directly into Mayra's eyes, voice low and cold. "Pack your things. The wedding's canceled. Okay, Mayra, you'll pay for any damages on the yacht." Mayra grabbed my arm urgently. "Kayla, Mark, give me another chance. This was just a mistake. Eva manipulated me." I shook her off harshly. "A mistake? Your only mistake was getting caught. Eva Maitov manipulated you, but the betrayal was yours alone." My voice echoed clearly, and the gathered crowd watched intently, waiting to see how this drama unfolded. Steve approached cautiously, suddenly appearing humble. "Mark, let's settle this quietly, okay? My father owns the auto dealership. Let's avoid trouble." "Yeah?" he pleaded softly, worried about his reputation. I stared him down fiercely. "You didn't seem worried about trouble earlier when you were kissing my both of you will be hearing from my lawyers." Steve's confidence shattered visibly, panics setting into his features. He grabbed Mayra's wrist urgently. "Fix this right now. I'm not paying for your stupid mistakes." Mayra pulled away, suddenly realizing Steve would abandon her at the first sign of trouble. She staggered back, desperate and confused. Her so-called dream of wealth and security was rapidly collapsing around her. Eva stepped forward again, nervously attempting damage control. "Mark, be reasonable. This whole situation is just a misunderstanding. Can't we discuss this calmly? Mayra loves you deeply." I scoffed bitterly, shaking my head. "She loves my money. Eva, you taught her well." Eva's face flushed angrily, quickly turning defensive. "That's not true. I was only helping Mayra find happiness. If you weren't so secretive about your wealth, none of this would have happened." The crowd gasped audibly at Ava's brazen statement. My patience snapped completely. "You're seriously blaming me for Mayra's betrayal?" Both of you are unbelievable. Mayra collapsed onto the yacht's deck, tears streaming down her face, finally realizing the gravity of her betrayal. Mark, I swear, I'll fix this. Please, don't ruin me. I leaned down close, my voice calm yet cold. You already ruined yourself, Mayra. All I'm doing is ensuring you face the consequences. As I walked off my yacht, leaving Mayra sobbing, and Steve panicked behind me, I felt strangely detached. My chest tightened, realizing the woman I'd planned my entire future with was nothing more than a manipulative opportunist. The betrayal was painful, yet clarifying. Standing firmly on the pier, watching everyone whisper and gossip, I knew this humiliation wouldn't be forgotten quickly. But I refused to let Mayra's betrayal define me. I'd show them all, especially Mayra and Eva, that I wasn't someone to mess with. And by the time I finished with them, they'd both deeply regret crossing paths with the man they'd so foolishly underestimated, because the quiet ones always strike hardest. After walking away from the marina, my heart felt hollow, weighed down by betrayal and disbelief. The night sky above seemed unusually dark, mirroring the emptiness I felt inside. All around me, laughter and celebrations continued. But now they sounded distant, muffled by my swirling thoughts. How could Mayra do this to me? I kept replaying that painful image of her and Steve together, kissing passionately right in front of my eyes. My chest tightened, anger mixing bitterly with hurt and shame. I felt utterly humiliated. Everyone had witnessed the worst possible betrayals just hours before our wedding. Each step I took felt heavier than the last, until I found myself alone at the far end of the dock. Away from the noise, my legs trembled, finally letting myself sink onto a nearby bench. The realization crashed down on me. The woman I loved, trusted, and planned to share my entire life with had seen me as nothing more than a convenient stepping stone. For a moment, I felt utterly lost. Had I truly been that blind? Was love supposed to hurt this much? I'd always lived by the principle of humility and sincerity, qualities instilled in me by my father. Wealth was never something we flaunted. We'd quietly built a small empire without the need for validation from others. Yet now, ironically, this very humility was the weapon Mayra and Eva had wielded against me. They'd mistaken my modesty for weakness, my silence for vulnerability. My phone buzzed suddenly, snapping me from my painful thoughts. I glanced down. Eva was calling. Bitter laughter escaped my lips. Now that the truth was out, she had the audacity to contact me. You want? I asked coldly as I picked up. Mark, Eva's voice trembled, filled with fake sincerity. Listen to me. This is all just a misunderstanding. Mayra still loves you deeply. Steve tricked her. Please, let's not ruin her life over a silly mistake. Anger burned hotter than before. Silly mistake, I snapped, my voice sharp. She betrayed me openly, Eva. She humiliated me in front of everyone. There's nothing silly about that. Eva's tone shifted, turning defensive. If you had just been honest from the beginning about your wealth, Mayra wouldn't have felt the need to find someone better. You kept secrets from her, so it's my fault she cheated. I laughed bitterly, astonished by Eva's twisted logic. She only loved my money, and you encouraged it, didn't you? Eva hesitated before answering, her voice shaking slightly. I just wanted what's best for her. She deserves a comfortable life. It's your fault for pretending to be poor. Her words stung deeper than I anticipated. Had I made a mistake? Was my choice to hide my wealth really to blame for Mayra's betrayal? Doubt crept into my heart for a moment, but then my father's words echoed clearly in my mind, reminding me who I truly was. Never measure your worth by other standards. Those who love you for your heart will stay by you no matter what. I straightened, taking a deep breath. Eva's manipulative words had nearly shaken me, but clarity returned swiftly. You and Mayra made your choices. Now it's time to face the consequences. I ended the call abruptly, my mind still swirling. Despite my outward resolve, the inner turmoil was relentless. My thoughts swung wildly between self-doubt and cold fury. Had I failed to see through Mayra's intentions earlier? Had I been so desperate for affection that I ignored the glaring signs? Then a quiet voice interrupted my spiraling thoughts. Mark. I glanced up to see Lisa, the quiet girl who'd always seemed to carry herself with dignity despite her humble background. Her presence was comforting, yet confusing. She hesitated slightly before approaching, concern clear in her gentle expression. I saw everything, Lisa said softly, sitting next to me cautiously. Are you okay? I wanted to lie, to say I was fine, to keep up the mask I'd worn for so long. But suddenly, the emotional weight became unbearable. I buried my face in my hands, allowing myself a rare moment of vulnerability. I honestly don't know, I admitted. Everything I thought I had was a lie. I feel humiliated and stupid. Everyone saw how blind I was. Lisa gently placed a comforting hand on my shoulder. Mark, you're not the one who should feel ashamed. You trusted someone you loved deeply. The shame belongs to Mayra, not you. Her words resonated deeply, breaking through my despair. I glanced up, meeting her sincere gaze. Lisa smiled softly, genuine kindness radiating from her ease of stark contrast to Mayra's superficial charm. But how could I have been so blind? I asked quietly, frustration evident in my voice. I gave her everything. I would have done anything to make her happy. Was I so worthless in her eyes? Lisa shook her head firmly. You were too valuable, too genuine. She didn't deserve you. People like Mayra and Eva chase temporary illusions. Real happiness doesn't come from wealth alone, something they'll never understand. The sincerity of her words calmed the turmoil inside me, and for the first time tonight, I felt understood. Lisa didn't pity or judge me. She genuinely understood. I never expected you'd be the one comforting me tonight. Slightly embarrassed, she smiled gently. Sometimes people surprise you. Not everyone judges others by superficial appearances. Her words made me realize how blind I'd been. Mayra had always judged me superficially, while Lisa, whom I'd overlooked, saw something deeper as we sat, quietly watching the reflections of lights on the water. I felt the pain ease slightly, replaced by growing determination. Mayra's betrayal hurt deeply, but I refused to let it define me. I'd trusted blindly once, but never again. Lisa, I finally said, quietly determined, I'm not letting Mayra or Eva walk away unscathed. If I think I'm weak, but I'll show them exactly how wrong they are. Lisa nodded, a supportive smile tugging at her lips. Good. It's about time someone taught them both a lesson. Her support bolstered my resolve. Tomorrow would be difficult. The court summons, the confrontation, facing Mayra. I was ready. Betrayal had cut deep, but from those wounds came clarity and strength. Mayra and Eva underestimated me once. I wouldn't let them make that mistake again. Just as I thought things couldn't get worse, my phone suddenly buzzed violently. Glancing down, I saw dozens of frantic messages flooding in from an unknown number. My heart raced as I quickly skimmed the texts. Mark, please. Best. This is Mayra. I know you blocked my other number, but this is urgent. I've made a huge mistake. Steve isn't who he said he was. He's dangerous. I scoffed bitterly, feeling a wave of disgust at Mayra's desperate attempt to reel me back in. But before I could dismiss her entirely, another message flashed urgently. He stole something from your yacht. Please, just answer me. It's important. My pulse quickened. Was this another manipulative lie, or had Steve actually gone further than I'd realized? Suspicion battled with curiosity, and after a moment's hesitation, I finally responded. What did he steal, Mayra? Or is this another trick? Her reply came instantly, frantic and disorganized. It's your documents. Property deeds. Your family's papers from the safe on board. Eva found out about them when she searched your yacht. Steve took everything. He says he'll ruin you if you don't drop the charges. My blood froze. Those documents were proof of ownership for most of my family's businesses, worth millions. If they fell into the wrong hands, the damage could be catastrophic. I cursed under my breath, realizing just how deeply I'd underestimated Steve's greed and Mayra's betrayal. How did he even get into the safe? I typed angrily, feeling panic rising despite myself. Her answer made me feel even sicker. I gave him your spare key. Eva convinced me you were hiding valuable papers there. I didn't know he'd steal them, I swear. He said he'd marry me once he got your assets. My hands shook violently. All this time, I'd believed Mayra was just after my money, but she was helping Steve destroy me entirely. The yacht was nothing compared to what they'd just taken. Mayra sent another desperate text. Mark, I'm sorry. He won't answer my calls either. You have to stop him, he said. He's meeting someone to sell those documents tonight. I felt sick. My future, my family's legacy, everything my parents had built was slipping away. Anger at Mayra's treachery and disgust at Steve's greed twisted my stomach. But self-pity wouldn't fix this. I had to act fast. Ignoring Mayra's pleading apologies, I quickly dialed the marina security office. They answered immediately, their tone serious as they listened to my instructions. We'll track the yacht's GPS right now, sir, they assured me. We'll find him before he leaves the marina. As I ended the call, Lisa, who had been quietly observing my escalating distress, asked anxiously, Mark, what's happening? Steve stole crucial documents from my yacht, Mayra. Helped him, I replied, bitterness heavy in my voice. Lisa's eyes widened in shock. Documents. How could Mayra stoop that low? Greed blinds people, I muttered, standing abruptly. I have to confront them before it's too late. Without another word, Lisa grabbed my arm. We're full of worry. Wait, Mark, let security handle it. It's dangerous. No, I replied firmly, determination filling me with newfound strength. This is personal. Mayra has crossed a line that can't be forgiven. Lisa hesitated, but finally nodded. Then I'll go with you. Grateful for her genuine support, I squeezed her hand gently, and we hurried towards the marina entrance. Together, my thoughts raced, a chaotic whirlwind of anger and anxiety. How had things spiraled so quickly? Just hours ago, I was preparing for my wedding, dreaming of a life with Mayra. Now, I was racing to stop her and Steve from destroying everything I'd built. We quickly reached the marina's main entrance, where the yacht had just docked hurriedly. My yacht bobbed silently, deceptively calm. But the calmness only heightened my anxiety. Steve stepped ashore, confidently carrying a black briefcase. Mayra stood on the deck, anxiously pleading, Steve, please, don't do this. Mark will never forgive me, sneered at her coldly, dismissing her pleas without a second glance. You got your cut, Mayra. Don't pretend you're innocent now. Mark was always your ticket, not your soulmate. Mayra, realizing I'd overheard everything, turned pale. Her eyes welled with tears, but I felt no sympathy, only disgust at how far she'd gone. You were planning this from the beginning, weren't you? I accused sharply, stepping forward. My voice echoed harshly, anger barely contained. Mayra shook her head desperately, sobbing. Mark, please, ... I made a mistake. Steve lied to me. He promised we'd be rich together. I didn't know he'd betray me too. Steve chuckled coldly, stepping off the yacht. He arrogantly met my gaze, unafraid. Face it, Mark. She's right, sure, pathetic, rich, but weak. You let love blind you, and look where it got you. Now, move out of my way before you get hurt. My fists clenched instinctively. I had allowed this betrayal to happen, underestimated both Mayra's cunning and Steve's greed. Now, standing face to face with the man who'd stolen everything from me, humiliation gave way entirely to rage. You think I'm weak because I trusted Mayra? My voice was dangerously calm, steady, despite the storm inside me. I showed you kindness and patience, Steve. Don't mistake that for weakness. He laughed dismissively, taking another step forward. Kindness won't protect your empire. It's mine now. I held his gaze, unwavering. We'll see about that. Security footage captured everything. You both committed a felony. Do you really think you'll escape consequences? Steve hesitated, his confidence flickering for the first time. But he quickly recovered, smirking arrogantly again. Nice bluff, but you're too late. Suddenly, sirens echoed in the distance. Police lights flashed brightly, piercing the night. Steve's confidence shattered instantly as security and police approached swiftly. He turned to run, but officers quickly surrounded him. As they placed him in handcuffs, he shouted desperately, "This isn't over, Mark." Ignoring him, I watched Mayra collapse to her knees, tears streaming down her face. "Mark." She sobbed pitifully, reaching toward me. "Please, forgive. Mine never meant." I stepped back coldly. "You chose your path, Mayra. Betrayal has consequences." As officers escorted them both away, my chest felt lighter, but my emotional wounds remained raw. Despite the relief, Mayra's betrayal had forever changed me, and I wondered bitterly if I'd ever truly heal or trust again. After the police escorted Steve away, Mayra was left kneeling on the pier, defeated and sobbing uncontrollably. I stood silently, watching her break down, torn between bitter satisfaction and lingering sorrow. The crowd gradually dispersed, whispers fading into the background. Eva, who had been hiding in the shadows, slowly stepped forward, pale and trembling. "Mark, please," she began, her voice barely a whisper. "Okay, I didn't know Steve would go this far. None of us did." I scoffed, glaring sharply at her. "You encouraged Mayra every step of the way, cued her toward him, convinced her I was worthless, and now you're claiming innocence." Eva lowered her eyes in shame. "I thought Steve was genuinely wealthy. If I'd known the truth." "The truth didn't matter to you," I interrupted bitterly. "You never cared about Mayra or her happiness. All you cared about was money and status." Eva looked away, eyes brimming with tears, her voice shaking. I just wanted us to have a better life. It wasn't personal, Mark." "Wasn't personal?" I asked incredulously. "You destroyed everything I trusted, and you say it wasn't personal? You both humiliated me publicly, tried to rob me blind, and almost ruined my family. How could it be more personal?" Eva shrank further into herself, unable to reply. I turned away from her, feeling a deep emptiness. As I started walking away, Mayra suddenly called out desperately behind me, "Mark, please stop." Her voice echoed across the empty pier. She struggled to stand, stumbling forward weakly, her once perfect face stained with tears and mascara. "I'm sorry. I'll do anything to fix this. Anything." I halted, turning slowly to face her. My expression remained cold, emotionless. "It's too late, Mayra. You chose your path." She grabbed my arm urgently, her grip surprisingly strong despite her fragile appearance. "Please, Mark, listen. I was blind to die. No, I hurt you deeply. Just give me one more chance." Shook my head, voice steady but filled with pain. Tilled. "Mayra, you didn't just hurt me, you destroyed us. There's no coming back from this." Mayra dropped to her knees again, her cries echoing through the darkness. Eva stood silently watching, guilt evident but unable to speak. I turned my back to them both, ready to leave this ugly chapter behind me, when a familiar voice interrupted, soft yet firm. "Mark, wait." I turned to see Lisa approaching hesitantly, her eyes filled with compassion but determination. Her presence surprised me again, grounding me in reality. "Lisa," I asked quietly, confused. "There's something you should see," Lisa said softly, handing me her phone. Steve didn't act alone. My heart skipped as I quickly read through a message thread between Mayra and Eva. Shock, disgust, and fury overwhelmed me. The text revealed Eva was not only involved, but had actively planned the entire scheme, pushing Mayra towards Steve, instructing her exactly how to deceive me, even suggesting using my affection to access my financial assets. I stared at Eva, incredulously. "You masterminded this from the start. All of this was your idea." Eva took a shaky step back, panic flooding her expression. It's not what you think. It's exactly what I think," I snapped angrily, approaching her slowly, feeling my rage finally boiling over. "You manipulated Mayra to betray me. She thought you'd control everything, but you never expected your plan to unravel, did you?" Eva's face twisted into desperation. "Mark, please, I was stupid. I didn't think she'd actually do it." Mayra lifted her tear-streaked face toward Eva, stunned. "You planned this entire thing from the beginning. You were playing me all along." Eva's silence was answer enough. Mayra's eyes filled with horror and betrayal, suddenly realizing the depth of Eva's manipulation. "You used me," Mayra sobbed brokenly. "You destroyed my entire life for your own greed." Eva's facade crumbled completely, guilt finally surfacing as tears rolled down her face. "I just each wanted more than this life, okay? We deserved better." "You agreed, Mayra." Mayra shook her head violently, hysterically shouting, "No. You made me think Mark wasn't good enough, that Steve was our future. Now, look at us, humiliated, ruined, and alone." I stood quietly, watching the two women collapse under their own lies, realizing this betrayal went deeper than I'd ever imagined. Mayra was not entirely innocent, but Eva had carefully orchestrated every step of her downfall in mind. Lisa stood beside me, her quiet strength comforting. She gently touched my shoulder, whispering softly, "Mark, maybe it's time to leave." I turned toward Lisa, feeling strangely calm amidst the chaos. "No, not yet." I approached Mayra, now slumped on the ground, broken and defeated. "Mayra, I'm going to court tomorrow, not because of revenge, but because it's the right thing to do. You must face the consequences of your actions." Mayra nodded silently, her fight finally gone, accepting her fate. Eva, however, looked at me fearfully, still trying desperately to escape responsibility. "Mark, please don't ruin me," Eva begged, desperation evident. "My family can't afford this. I have nothing left. This will destroy us. You've ruined yourself," I said calmly, firmly. "You taught Mayra to use people for personal gain. Now face the price of your greed." Key sank to her knees, breaking down completely. I didn't think it would go this far. I swear I didn't." I stepped back, speaking calmly. "You never cared how far it went, Eve, only what you could gain from it." Turning away, I felt Lisa's supportive presence beside me. Her sincerity reminded me that integrity, though quietly held, was my greatest strength. Then, suddenly, police radios crackled nearby, signaling officers approaching. Moments later, they placed Eva in handcuffs. Her tearful pleas echoed uselessly, falling on deaf ears. Mayra quietly surrendered as officers approached her to her, eyes filled with genuine regret for the first time as they led Mayra and Eva away. A heavy silence settled around the marina. Only Lisa and I remained, standing quietly under the soft glow of the pier lights. She gently squeezed my hand, offering silent support. "You did the right thing," Lisa said softly. "They brought this on themselves." I sighed deeply, feeling the weight of tonight's events finally lifting slightly. "I know, but why does it still hurt so much?" "'Cause you genuinely loved her," Lisa replied gently. "But your love wasn't weak, it was sincere. They're the ones who failed you." I glanced at Lisa gratefully. Her quiet strength had pulled me through my darkest moment, reminding me of the values that truly mattered. Her simple kindness illuminated everything. Clearly I had lost someone who never truly valued me, but perhaps gained someone whose sincerity was undeniable. As the cool breeze drifted gently around us, I felt the weight of betrayal lift slightly. The pain lingered, but clarity shone brighter. Mayra and Eva had gambled everything on greed and deception, yet in the end, they lost everything. I'd survived because I chose integrity over revenge, strength over bitterness. Lisa spoke quietly, breaking the silence. "Let's go, Mark. Tomorrow's a new day." I smiled faintly, nodding. Tomorrow would indeed bring challenges, legal battles, public gossip, and healing from deep betrayal. Yet, standing beside Lisa.com finally returned. The worst was behind me. They'd underestimated me, mistaking kindness for weakness, but now they knew better. Tomorrow, I'd reclaim my dignity, rebuild my life, and remind everyone, including myself, that real strength wasn't loud or flashy. It was quietly confident, unyielding in integrity, and never destroyed by betrayal. As Lisa and I walked away, leaving the marina behind, I knew one thing with absolute certainty. I'd lost Mayra forever, but I'd finally found myself again. Months passed swiftly after the scandalous night at the marina. The court proceedings against Mayra, Eva, and Steve moved quicker than anyone expected, given the overwhelming evidence. The documents Steve stole had indeed been recovered in time, and surveillance footage confirmed Ava's role as the mastermind behind the betrayal. Their reckless attempt at easy wealth became the talk of the town, but instead of humiliation, found respect among peers who saw through the facade of their superficial charm. The court's decision was decisive. Steve received a heavy sentence for theft, fraud, and intimidation. Mayra and Eva narrowly avoided jail time, but faced heavy fines and public humiliation that destroyed their reputations forever. Their downfall was complete, undeniable proof that betrayal never ends in happiness, but as satisfying as justice felt. I didn't find joy in their suffering. Instead, their fate was a stark reminder that greed and deception eventually come full circle. Mayra had reached out numerous times, sending lengthy apologies, desperate for forgiveness. Each message felt emptier than the last. She wasn't truly sorry for hurting me, only for the consequences she faced. Eventually, I blocked her entirely, knowing closure wouldn't come from her empty words. Eva, meanwhile, disappeared entirely from social circles, forced to work menial jobs to repay her debts. Her dreams of wealth and status crumbled beneath the harsh reality she'd created for herself. Occasionally, I'd catch glimpses of her cleaning tables at a small cafe or mopping floors at the very stores I owned. She never dared look me in, the eyes, shame etched permanently into her features. Yet, amid all this chaos, my life quietly moved forward. With newfound clarity, I refocused on managing my family's properties openly, stepping confidently into the role I'd previously avoided. My modesty remained intact, but hiding my identity no longer felt necessary. People respected the strength and dignity I'd shown throughout this ordeal, and my previously quiet life gradually filled with genuine friendships and real connections. Through everything, Lisa remained a quiet, supportive presence in my life. After the scandal, our friendship grew naturally, unforced, and sincere. She understood my cautiousness, never pushing for more than I could comfortably give. In the months following the betrayal, Lisa became my confidant, the one person whose sincerity never wavered. One evening, almost a year after that painful night, I invited Lisa to dinner on my yacht, the same yacht where my life had unraveled, but now symbolized my growth and resilience. The sun was setting over the calm water, painting the sky in gentle shades of pink and gold. Lisa stood quietly at the yacht's railing, gazing thoughtfully at the horizon, a peaceful expression on her face. "Do you ever regret meeting me, Kay?" I asked, suddenly, breaking the comfortable silence. Lisa smiled softly, turning to face me. "Why would you ask that?" Hesitated slightly, memories flickering in my mind. "Because of everything that happened. Your life was quiet before. You never asked to be dragged into all this chaos." Lisa laughed softly, shaking her head. "My life was quiet, yes, but also lonely. People always overlooked me, Mark. You saw me clearly, even when I thought no one did." Warmth filled my chest at her words. She'd misunderstood nothing. Lisa always understood everything so effortlessly. "You were always genuine," I admitted, quietly, stepping closer. "The only one who never cared what I had or didn't have. You saw me for who I was." She nodded gently, sincerity in her eyes. We both deserved better than people who valued status over character. I glanced toward the fading sunlight, the peacefulness around us soothing the last of my lingering pain. "Lisa, do you ever wonder what life would have been like if none of this had happened?" She thought for a moment, then answered honestly, "Maybe simpler, but I wouldn't trade the clarity it brought." We both needed this experience, painful as it was, to truly see the people around us clearly. I nodded thoughtfully, feeling grateful she'd been by my side throughout everything. "I never thought betrayal could lead to something positive," Lisa smiled gently. "Painful truths often lead to better paths." "I believe in fate, Mark. Perhaps everything we endured was meant to lead us here to this moment." Her words resonated deeply within me, echoing what I already felt. The world had tested me severely, but in overcoming betrayal, I discovered strength I never knew I possessed. More importantly, I discovered Lisa's someone genuine, sincere, and truly deserving of trust. "Lisa," I began carefully, heart racing slightly, "I don't want to live trapped by the past anymore. I want to move forward with you." Lisa's eyes widened slightly, surprise clear on her face, before slowly softening into a warm smile. "Mark, are you sure? After everything you've been through, I don't want you rushing into," I gently interrupted, smiling reassuringly. "Okay. Sure, you're the one good thing that came out of all this. Your sincerity taught me what love truly looks like." A faint blush colored Lisa's cheeks, and she laughed shyly, glancing down. "I never imagined you'd say something like that." "It's true," I insisted softly, taking her hand gently. "Mayra showed me what love shouldn't be, and you showed me what it genuinely is. I trust you completely, Lisa." She squeezed my hand gently, tears of happiness glistening in her eyes. "I trust you too, Mark, completely." We stood together quietly, the setting sun slowly disappearing beyond the horizon, leaving behind soft twilight. The gentle waves rocked the yacht calmly, a symbol of peace after turbulent storms. Lisa leaned closer, resting her head lightly against my shoulder. "You know," she whispered thoughtfully, "sometimes I wonder if Mayra and Eva ever realized what they lost, not just wealth, but something far more valuable." I smiled faintly, feeling completely at peace. "Perhaps one day they will, but it doesn't matter anymore. They're part of the past and you're my present and future." She smiled warmly, nodding quietly. "Then let's leave them therein. The past. It's time for us to finally be happy." I kissed her gently, feeling sincere warmth replace every lingering shadow in my heart. This moment felt right, real, undeniably genuine, exactly how love was meant to be. From that day onward, life continued beautifully, free of deceit or hidden motives. Lisa's sincerity became my anchor, guiding me forward toward true happiness. Friends admired our quiet, authentic connection, relationship built on trust, respect, greed, and honesty rather than wealth or superficiality. Eventually, Mayra and Eva became faded memories, cautionary tales about greed and betrayal. Occasionally, people mentioned them, but their names evoked pity rather than envy. Both women had disappeared into obscurity, forgotten by the town they once charmed. Mayra, unable to bear public shame, moved far away, attempting to rebuild her shattered life elsewhere. Still burdened by debt and disgrace, lived in constant regret, forever haunted by the choices that destroyed her dreams. As for Steve, his arrogance dissolved behind bars, a painful lesson about ambition without morality. His family's reputation suffered irreparably, their once respected dealership reduced to insignificance, harsh reminder that actions have permanent consequences. But for Lisa and me, happiness finally arrived, not extravagant, but quiet, sincere, and deeply fulfilling. We embraced life openly, unafraid of vulnerability or honesty. My family's empire thrived, now known for integrity rather than secrecy. Lisa, always passionate about helping others, continued tutoring and volunteering, bringing dignity and kindness wherever she went. And each night, as we watched the sunset together from our yacht, I felt overwhelming gratitude. Betrayal had shaken my world, yet it had also revealed the truth. Real strength lies not in wealth, power, or appearance, but in sincerity, integrity, and genuine love. And finally, at peace with Lisa beside me, I'd found all three.